We'll call to order the public forum section of the ordinance meeting today, March 26th at 7 o'clock. Nobody's on here? If no one is here to speak, is everybody here? Hold it, we'll wait a second. Okay. We got Bill here, and Greg is here. Let me grab my little agenda. Is this in? Yeah. Right here.
Greg, do you need a copy of the agenda?
Looks like it's a little bit different from what was.
That's different?
This is what you emailed me, right?
That's the public hearing one.
Oh, I got to
These
flip
are
the
the
page.
same ones here.
Okay, here, we got it. I got it. Good. Are we good? Do we have enough people?
Yeah, you have quorum.
Good. All right, with no public here to address us, then I'm going to close that portion of the meeting and open the ordinance committee meeting for Tuesday, March 26th. Today's Tuesday, right? Monday, March 26th. Call to order. Can I get an approval of the minutes from our regular meeting from last month, February 26th? Chris Pia?
Second.
Which one wants it? We'll go with Ron Tiggy, please. All in favor? Unanimous. There's no unfinished business or tabled items, so we will move on to new business. Item A is an ordinance creating the position of Community and Economic Development Coordinator. Does anybody have a motion to Chris Pia? It's coordinator.
Madam Chairman,
Yeah.
the correct motion is to, not to approve, but to refer it to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Oh, did I say approve? I'm sorry.
Motion to send
To council with a favorable? Okay. Would somebody like to second that? Bill? Thank you. And is there any discussion? Does anybody have any questions? We passed around a description and have talked about it, and it sounds like a great idea to me. And if anybody has any questions, we could talk about it. Okay, with no discussion, I'd like to call this to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, so that's unanimous. So we will forward this to council with a favorable recommendation. No opposed? Any opposed? No, I think everybody. One, sorry, yeah. 8, because 6, 7, me. 7, 0. There's 7 of us. Okay, item B, we will move on to item B, an ordinance regarding the applicability of traffic laws to the operation of bicycles, section 18-04. Come on forward.
Good evening. David Gugliotti, Lieutenant with the Traffic Division in Stratford.
I'm Alex Floric. I was looking at this on behalf of the Town Attorney's Office.
Does anybody have any? Go ahead.
Well, I'm basically here to answer any questions that you may have. We have a problem in town regarding bicyclists. It's primarily youths under 18 that are riding in the middle of the road, interfering with traffic recklessly and hazardously. We've done some research. Milford enacted it last year, and we're kind of following the same step. We have a pretty big problem, especially in the Paradise Green area.
So this would be a juvenile riding a bike incorrectly, which is not following regular traffic laws, and they would be stopped, or like, what would you do?
It would apply to all people who ride bicycles. The impetus of this was because it's primarily
Yeah.
children or juveniles or youths. So once this is enacted, it'll give the authority to a police officer if he gets a complaint or observes reckless operation where
Okay.
it can cause loss of life or injury, which is likely, to stop the child, seize the bike, depending on the discretion of the officer, issue a town ordinance violation ticket through the state. We put it on an infraction, and then he would seize the bike for like a cooling off period, so the child, wouldn't be in harm's way, and then we'd signal the parent to come down. They'd fill out a form stating we'd tell them what was going on. They'd sign off on that form. We'd educate the parent a little bit, and then give the bicycle back, probably in a 24-hour to 48-hour period.
Does anybody have any questions or need any clarification on that? Greg?
Thank you, Chair. Is the Attorney's Office okay with the language in the ordinance?
We're going to do some tweaking on the impounding language, which I think is the last section of the ordinance you have in front of you right now. And it's going to specifically state that the bike, that impounding language will probably address minors only, and will specifically spell out that the bike will be released to the parents or guardians after 24 hours. Unlike other impounds, such as with DUIs and unregistered vehicles, there will be no impounding fees. There will, however, the officers are currently under state law allowed to issue infraction tickets to anyone who violates traffic law in a car or on a bike. So those fines will still be applied to people on their bikes.
And a question for Mr. Florek Sr.
Sure, go ahead.
Can we pass it today with a favorable recommendation, including prospective amendment from the Attorney's Office?
Yes, you can refer it back over to the council. You don't have to make the changes here. They can be made at the council level when it gets back over there.
Sounds good. Go ahead. Perfect, that's good to know. Public safety. Go ahead.
What would be the consequences of a second offense if there was one by the same individual?
Well, the first, right now we're looking at like a scaled penalties, financial penalties. I think the first we said was 75, then maybe 150, and then 250 is the maximum that can be fine imposed under a town ordinance.
And a longer impound period too?
We're kind of concerned about bumping up against some constitutional issues with seizing property, which is why this will only apply to children, and it will be released to their parent or guardian after 24 hours.
Okay, thank
But
you.
we're still looking at that.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? Go ahead, Bill.
Are there any plans on education before we start enforcing this to get the word out to the kids?
So the plan is to advertise in the paper, Facebook, the police department website, the town website. I think we have a Twitter account. And then I'm checking with our PAL. In the past, we have had educational booklets on bicycling. So what I think we should do is let's say we have a violation. We're going to do the advertising and get it out there. Now we have a violation, I'd like to maybe get a rules book and give it to that juvenile and educate him and the parents so we don't have any accidents.
I think, too, the Board of Ed would send a mass email for you if you created something.
Yeah, through the schools
Yeah.
is a great idea.
We can include that.
Yes, Wally, welcome.
I don't hear anything. There you go. How you doing, guys? Good to see you as always. All your work is always necessary. My concern is a very small one, I guess, because I grew up this way. We rode bikes, didn't know how to do signals. We just went everywhere. Sometimes we drove from Brooklyn all the way to Bear Mountain, just a whole crew of us. So I just hope that it's some leniency for these children who grew up like I grew up without having the knowledge to know these things about, how we do now with the arms, left, right, up. So I hope there's some leniency.
I want to assure you, this is not for the kid that makes a mistake, like if you're driving your car and you accidentally go through a stop sign. This is for reckless operation, that the juvenile, the kid or person, intentionally goes in the middle of traffic, playing, Frogger with the cars and doing Papa Wheelies, and when he's told to get out by just citizens, he doesn't, and he continues that behavior where it can cause an accident or loss of life or serious injury. This is not for a group of kids that are pedaling from one side of the town to the other, enjoying a sunny day. I can assure you that. It is definitely something that is going to be in the area of negligent, recklessness operation.
Thank you so much. Also, and the fact that you deal with, well, me personally, I grew up in an environment where it's low income. And a lot of times, even if it was a fine given to a low-income family who cannot even survive, just off the money they make, I hope there's something set in place for that, because I think that's necessary.
That could be discussed. As far as the fine increments, I don't know if you heard that it's going to be 75 first offense, 150, 250. On that being said, the majority, I don't know everybody's income in town, but the majority of our problems are in Paradise Green. So the lower incomes that I know of anyways, it doesn't seem to be happening there. So, we're not looking to target specific economic class. We just don't want anybody getting hit by a car or run over or an accident.
Please don't misunderstand me. I don't think that at all, because I love police officers and I know everything you do is for our safety. So I'm 100% behind that. I just know that I run basketball programs in the town almost 20 years now, and sometimes people don't have it. They still get to play. And those same people, kids have bikes, I don't want them to hurt, you know what I mean? So that would be very steep for a kid that mother don't have it. And most times it's single parents is what I'm saying also, because that's the way I was raised as well.
Well, I would tell you this, that it's not a mandatory to issue that ticket. And the way I've worked in the past over 25 years in law enforcement, everybody makes mistakes. Doesn't mean necessarily you get a ticket or you go to jail or whatever the case may be, but a respect towards that police officer or the officer out there goes a long way.
I
and then
agree.
Support of that parent even goes further.
I agree.
And if that was the case, I don't want to speak for every officer, but I'm sure the officer would be lenient in that situation. And the way it's been talked about at the PD, it's for extreme cases. So I'm hoping that that's the route all the officers take.
I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I just want to say thank you guys for coming down. And that's my concern. And you probably know this because you've been around, like you said, 25 years. Sometimes when you deal with different communities, their understanding or their respect in terms of how to treat officers are not there. And I don't want that to go against them. And a lot of times, it's a lack of education of comfort, because the way a child recognizes what occurs in the community, it changes everything. Like if I grew up and I see everybody getting handcuffs on all the time, I'm not going to be too happy to say hello to a police officer, other than a police officer being able to say, let me come meet your mother, see who you are, understand what you are. I understand some things are extreme, like the way that these children conduct themselves. Sometimes you do need to enforce the law, but I think some things can be expressed to them in a way to help them. And I know that you guys will do that. I just want to make sure that I say something, please.
So maybe what we need to do is do what Mr. O'Brien said. We need to reach out through our SROs and really publicize this and advertise it in the school system with emails to the parents, flyers to students, and have the SROs talk to all these children ahead of time before it's even enacted or put in place or we take enforcement. That way they know we're reaching out to you, this is for safety, and that's something that we can definitely do.
Amen. And you guys do a great job, by the way, even with Police Chief O'Neill and prior to him, Rittenauer. I used to have police officers, actually they still do, come down and speak to my children all the time, because they need to understand that police officers are there to help you, not to hurt you. And like I said, based upon the environment in which you see, you have a skewed misunderstanding of what police officers are there for. So I thank you guys for all you do. I love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You want, like Chris? Go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to
Is there a second? Second by Council Kadim. Any further discussion? We'll take this to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. That's 8 now. And I vote. Thank you. Okay, the next item is prohibition on blocking the box.
So this is comes from the statutory authority of 14-25B. It's in the traffic statutes. The city of Milford does this. You'll probably notice in front of the Milford Mall. They paint a box on the road, and if the light is green and you proceed through the intersection, but there's not enough room on the other side, and you get stuck in the intersection because of traffic, you're in violation of the blocking the box ordinance, and you're subject to fine. You're subject to a traffic infraction. So the PD wanted to do this up by Sikorsky Aircraft at 3 locations: Main Street and Oronoke Lane, Main Street and Sikorsky Aircraft Gate 1, and also at Main Street and the Route 15 southbound exit 53 off-ramp. I've reviewed this ordinance. I think it's legally sound and ready to go right back to the council.
Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead. Move it to council. Is there a second?
I had a question for you. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's just more of the same. You know, a lot of times people who are not in an economic way most times suffer, you know, when it comes to different changes of rules or ordinance and so forth and laws. There again, I hope that it can be some understanding, because sometimes if a parent got children screaming in the background and they're trying to get somewhere and they forget they're stuck in a box, now they got to spend whatever it is, I don't know, $200, whatever the dollars amount is for that infraction. So I just hope that there's some leniency sometime like that.
I'll take that. Sure. I just want to let the committee know we are having a major issue in the north end in front of Sikorsky. The buildup of Bridgeport Avenue in Shelton, Sikorsky getting a little bit busier with the contract I think they got last year. The Atria was built up. The hotel's back in business. We have a lot of business, and we have a major tax contributing to the town, who's becoming frustrated with the traffic and the issues we're having here, and their people getting in and out of work. We've had the state up there numerous times. Since I took over traffic, I've been up there 10, 20 times. We've done traffic studies. We are now pushing the state to come and move Sikorsky's exit across from Oronoke, make the lanes from Route 15 to Warner Hill 3 lanes in both directions, dedicated lanes when they come off the highway to come into Oronoke. This is something that needs to get done. The construction up there needs to get done. They're a big part of this community, Sikorsky. And without them here, this town will suffer, and the area will suffer. We have people that blatantly go through the light. We have marked police cars, I've been there, sitting there for the sole purpose of seeing a violator and issue them a ticket. No warning, and they still do it. This is gonna basically put a big sign on the road saying, don't be in here. If we can alleviate 10%, 20%, 30%, it's worth it. We're allowed to do this by state statute. We just have to have a town ordinance in place to put that box down there like they do in front of the Connecticut Post Mall. I'm just telling you guys, this is needed. And this is the start of making it easier up there because of the congestion from 2:30 to 5:30 in the afternoon and from like 6:30 to 7:30. Not solely for Sikorsky, but for the residents and the senior complexes up there and all the businesses that have come up there. And now it's just, there's too many cars for the road. And something needs to be done. I'm pushing for that state construction job to be done now, not in 2 years, and have dedicated lanes. So I consider that it's needed.
Thank you very much.
And the statute and the ordinance will require that it be clearly
Marked.
marked.
It's gonna be-
truly, I just want to let you know, I trust that you know what you're doing, all you guys. So I'm just saying, I just always think about people that I know who struggle to pay bills and so forth, and if they get caught
And
in
then
that,
what
it
would
hurts.
happen, excuse me, I'm sorry, what would happen after the roads are reconstructed, the exits are moved?
Well, then we'd probably have to come back, I mean, they'd have to repaint the roads, and I mean, we could still have a block-the-box ordinance there.
Oh, that's a good question. How far are we away from getting those 3 lanes?
So the first step here, something totally different, block the box, get that in place. The other part, as far as widening the roads, making the lanes more accessible, maybe a dedicated lane off of 15 into Sikorsky for its workers, that's in the planning and talking phase, and there is plans and designs out there. I don't know where exactly it is, Mayor, but it's kind of, we're pushing it along. We're people are looking at it. People are having their input and making decisions, and that's a money thing, and it might be 2 or 3 years off. So,
Madam,
no.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mayor.
The town of Stratford received a $1.5 million grant, an urban action grant from the state of Connecticut. We talked about it a little bit today. That grant and DOT and the town of Stratford is being deployed immediately. We will be starting the first phase of the project. Sikorsky has to realign their parking area and their roadways, and they have to realign it so there's going to be the light at Orinoco Lane, which will be the only light. And then to Lieutenant Gugliotti's point, the block-the-box piece of this may stay in place for a while, even after this is gone. We just have to check the traffic patterns, how much traffic flow there is. He's absolutely right. With the increased traffic flow that we have, there's another development being proposed next to the Spriglio's main building, and I just can't even think of what it is called. Writer's Landing, there's another proposal there. So traffic is only going to increase. So all the tools that they have to enforce good traffic flow and good traffic access is really, really necessary. But we expect to break ground on part of this Sikorsky realignment of the roads with Orinoco Lane and the traffic lights this spring.
Wow.
Thank you, Yana. Thank you.
I didn't know that.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
if I may,
yes.
I'd like to make a motion to move item C with a favorable recommendation to the council.
We have a motion.
Actually, you're right. Bill did do it.
So
I would
Bill
second.
Furlow, and then Councilman Pia, second. Is there any further discussion? And then we could take it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. So the motion passes, and this will be forwarded to council with a favorable recommendation. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I regret to inform you that I broke your microphone stand on your podium here.
We're going to have to invoice you.
I know. I'll just rest the mic here, and I'll give the clerk the intersections that are going to be affected by this.
Perfect, thank you. Okey doke. So we move right along to item D, an ordinance appropriating $14,797,200 for various public improvements in the capital improvement program for the fiscal year 2018 to 2019, number 1808. Yes. Councilman Kadim has made a motion to favorably. Is there a second? Any discussion?
To Wally's motion? Yes,
No discussion? Y'all good? And I believe it was seconded by Councilman Pia, correct? We'll take this to a vote. All in favor? Unanimous? Any opposed? And our last item E, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of $14,797,200 bonds of the town to meet the appropriation for various public improvements in the capital improvement program for fiscal year 2018-19, pending issuance thereof of the making temporary borrowings for such purpose. 18-09. Any discussion? Yeah, it's seconded. And we'll take this to a vote. All in favor? I vote aye as well, and the motion carries unanimously. And the last motion is for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.